Hello everyone. Welcome all of you to talk show tonight. What wrong? What?
I don't know.
That may be a problem in connection. Maybe have problem.
I spoke with a friend of mine who's also an English teacher last night about this stream. And she also mentioned to me how students can learn vocabulary from reading.
Yes.
And so I will also talk about that. I hadn't thought about it. It's a little bit harder, or it can be. It doesn't have to be. It can be harder. It depends on if you are better at reading or listening.
Yes. Reading or listening.
Right. Most people are better at listening than reading.
Yes.
But for people like me, actually, it's easier to read than listen to a foreign language. So most people are better at listening than reading.
Yes. Speaking and reading as well.
Sure. Yes, both of them.
Yes, both of them. Effortless English. We will focus on this.
I'm sorry?
Effortless English. Effortless vocabulary.
Oh, as far as. Okay, I'm sorry. As far as.
Yes, as follows. That's wrong pronunciation.
It sounds like you're saying, okay, so it sounds like you're saying this.
As follows.
Right, but as far, R.
As follows.
R.
For. As
R.
R.
How? Okay, well, you know how?
How?
How is a teacher? Is the pronunciation teacher? Well, ask Tao. All right, How is one of the teachers for our school who teaches specifically pronunciation?
Yes.
Later, you can ask Tao or How about where your tongue needs to be to make the R sound, so that it's really different from the L.
Yes, it takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of time to practice. To how to move the tongue, between the teeth and the lip, and many ways.
Right. And in Vietnamese, when you make the L sound or the R sound, your tongue is on the bottom of your mouth.
Yes.
In English, we have the tongue on the top. Oh.
Yes, started. Okay. So, hello everyone. Welcome all of you to our talk show tonight. How are you? I hope all of you doing well today. And first of all, thanks for your participation in our talk tonight. Let us start with our talk by introducing myself. I'm Jolie. I'm member of Mix Up belong to Hobbit channel, and I'm responsible for running this talk tonight. This talk tonight is how to study vocabulary effectively. So warmly welcome our special guest today, Teacher Denny.
Thank you, Jolie. Nice to see you this evening.
Yes. Hello, Teacher Denny. How about you? How are you today? How is it going?
I am well. I'm well, thank you. And please call me Denny. How are you tonight?
Yes, the same to you. And what's time in your country now?
So in Georgia, it's just a little bit after 5 p.m.
Yes, 5 p.m. And are you prepare your dinner yet?
Not yet. No.
Yes, okay.
Perhaps later. And you?
Yes, I have just it's a dinner already with my family. Yes, my family from hometown in the Fujian province. Yes, invited me. Yes, and we have a nice weekend together.
That's great.
Yes. Firstly, I want to tell a little bit my experience in studying vocabulary.
Please.
Okay. Yes. I'm a student in high school. When I study in high school, my major is English for 3 years. And on the time in high school, I study much, a lot of course in English, and I had to study for skill as well. But the most important when I graduation, when I lost all, because all my studying program only focus on comprehension and grammar as well. So I lost as all. And that is biggest time I have to face to face with the other when communicate English, especially foreigner. Fortunately, I'm never give up, and I try my best to take all my knowledge after when I have a free time, and I try my best to go into the community for free speaking English, and I study myself, and one of my methods I have to retake my vocabulary is I have a lot of method to study vocabulary every day and never give up. And that's also our topic today. And teacher Denny, can you help us to make clear effectively in this phrase how to study English effectively in here, because the topic in here is very wide.
It is.
Yes.
It is. And something we've talked a little bit about in other live streams was our purpose, our goal, our reason to be studying English.
Yes.
As you mentioned, you started studying English when you were in high school, and your focus was just on passing the test, passing the exam. And so maybe 1 week before the test, you would have a long list of English words that you needed to know for the test.
Yes.
And so you might spend a few hours, drink a little bit of coffee, stay awake at night, and get all the words into your head.
Yes.
And then 2 days or 3 days after the test, almost all the words or all the words are gone.
Yes.
Right? You would use flashcards maybe and flip the word over, or you'd repeat the list and say it.
Yes.
And did you really know the meaning of the word? Well, good enough for the test. Maybe good enough for the test if you pass the test.
Yes.
And that is the thing. A lot of people say, oh, Denny, I studied English for 3 years, 6 years, and it was a waste of time. I didn't study the right way, and my education at my home country is really bad. Well, maybe it's not bad, but the problem is you didn't have the right goal. You wanted to pass the test and that's it. You hated English or you didn't like it. So why work very hard on it? And that's why you studied it for a short time to know it for the test, and that's it.
Yes.
And so that's fine if that's just what you want to do. Now, most of us here, most of you here in our community don't want to remember it only for the test.
Yes.
But you need to think about, all right, I need English, but it's going to be different. For example, maybe you need to read English. You need to be able to read newspapers or books or magazines, but you don't need to speak, right?
Yes.
You're not worried about speaking English.
Yes.
That's going to focus how you're going to be learning vocabulary. Probably.
Probably.
So, yes, probably. If you're going to be using it for daily life, you're going to move to Australia, you're going to move to America, then that means you need a different set of words. You need a different set of vocabulary. So maybe you will use different materials to study the vocabulary and different methods.
Yeah.
If you're going to be doing your university studies,
yes,
that's a different set. Or if you're going to be doing it for work,
yes,
maybe speaking and writing,
yes,
right? And so all of these situations are different and they require different materials and maybe different methods. So we will take to start off with conversational English and maybe living in a foreign country or talking to foreigners.
yes,
So this is what a lot in our community like. And a lot of people will watch, for example, the American television show Friends.
yes,
Or they will watch other things called situational comedies, sitcoms, The Big Bang Theory, Broken Girls, other things like this. And the reason that this can be a good way to be learning vocabulary is maybe you don't know all the words, but you can see the video, you can see what's going on. And so you get more of the context,
yes,
right? You can guess what is going on, or you know what's going on. So you
Yeah.
have an idea about what you're listening to. And you can use subtitles. You want to have Vietnamese on the bottom to start with, that's
Yeah.
fine. But then after a while, push yourself to English.
yes,
One key for developing vocabulary, an important key, is that when you hear the word, you immediately understand it, or almost immediately. And sometimes people say to me, Denny, they speak too fast for me to understand. Okay, so put in the subtitle. Get your ear accustomed to it. You don't know what the word is, read it. Read it with your eyes as they're saying it, right? They'll be doing it quickly. Maybe they will blend the words together because
Yeah.
that's how it is sounds. That's how it is spoken.
yes,
You need to get used to that.
yes,
And now with watching the sitcoms, you learn the language that people use in their day-to-day life.
yes,
It is important you pay attention. Are they talking to their friends when using these words, or are they talking to their boss?
yes.
So you need to pay attention to that. But you will see real examples of the right kind of vocabulary that
Yeah.
maybe a book won't show you,
yes,
or maybe there's not enough time in a classroom to learn.
yes,
So that is one of the ways that the materials, right? Watching television shows and listening and seeing the words on the bottom is a good way for learning vocabulary.
yes, yes.
Did you ever do this? Watch television shows in English?
Yes, I have heard some. Yes.
Did
I
you
have some.
did you use it as a way to maybe learn some vocabulary or to increase your listening comprehension or speed?
Yes, from bottom of my heart, I'm really want to improve my knowledge in watching television and watching film and kind of that. So for me, it's too fast for the beginner. For me, after a beginner level, I'm going on to intermediate level. I can absorb the knowledge gradually. So I'm afraid that with the beginners, if they don't have a feeling with English, they don't. This is not the suitable methods for them to begin.
Well, certainly for beginners, it's not a good way to learn vocabulary. You're right. But it is important that they get good listening skill early on so that they can recognize the different sounds of English. Yes. And also recognize at least where a word ends and a new word begins. Right? Maybe you don't know the words, but you know, okay, this is a word, this is a word, this is a word.
Yes.
And so you're right. If you're trying to learn vocabulary and you're a beginner or not so good, that can be challenging.
Yes.
It can be harder that way. You're right.
Yes.
You also mentioned using it to learn knowledge. So not just English, but knowledge.
Yes.
And so still talking about people who want conversational English. Sometimes you talk about your hobbies, like maybe you play football, or maybe you play the piano, or maybe you like cooking.
Yes.
Or things like this. So you can watch videos on YouTube or other places on the internet about these topics. And the good thing here is if you already know a lot about it in Vietnamese or in your native language, then when you watch the video, you already know a lot about the topic. So it is easier to guess what they are saying if you don't know all the words.
Yes.
And you can start to figure out what words must mean.
Yes.
So you can practice using this vocabulary also.
Yes. Yes. Thanks for your all the information that it can be in hand. And for me, vocabulary in communicating English is very important. Let's take example. I'm a student major in English. For a long time I don't get it talk with English for a long time. I don't have any feeling. But when I want to start with the English, I only in my mind remaining some vocabulary. So I only communicate with other by the keyword. So the vocabulary I measure and is important, really important. Is that right? According to your opinion, teacher?
Yes, Denny, please. So yes, there certainly is fundamental or basic vocabulary that you will need to know no matter what your purpose is.
Yes.
And this is usually several hundred words. And hopefully you learn those in the first couple of years that you have studied English.
Yes. Nowadays a lot of channel they create channel by themselves. How to study English, how to study vocabulary effectively, and we have to pay a lot of money to all them. So can you give us some channel according to your opinion, is very useful?
Well, so this again goes back to what your purpose is.
Yes.
So let's say, for example, that you expect to do your university studies or undergraduate master's degree, MBA in English. Then there are a couple of things that I would recommend to you directly. There is Coursera, Coursera.org.
Yes.
And there is also edX.org.
Yes.
And they are both platforms. They are both websites and applications. You can get it for Android or for Apple. And on them are free university classes. The biggest difference is some of them have some universities. There are some universities on edX, and there are some universities on Coursera.
Yes.
And then each university has different classes and different professors teaching them. Now, it is free because you do not get university credit for it. However, you get to watch all the lectures. You can see all of the videos. Also, if there are PDFs or other documents for the class, you can find them there.
Yes.
For some of the universities, they offer you the opportunity to get a certificate if you take a test, but each university is different. So how can you use this?
Yes.
For example, let's say that you have already taken the TOEFL and maybe your score was 100. Yes. So you know your English is good enough and your university has accepted you. Yeah. But now you need to wait 3 or 4 months. Yes. Before you go to America or Australia to start studying. Yes. You should look for classes in your major. You should start looking for classes on the subject you will study. Mm. You take the IELTS you take the TOEFL or you take the IELTS. This is general academic English. Yes. All right. It's general academic English. You need English for chemistry, or you need English for psychology, or you need English for literature, whatever your major is. Yes. And so you're going to be there in a few months, or even if you study from Vietnam, you study your classes online, you have several months. Make life easier for you. Start listening to the lectures. Start taking notes now. Start learning this vocabulary. Again, how? You're listening. You're listening to what the teacher is saying. You're reading maybe the English on the bottom of the screen. You see the teacher says, for this class, you need to read this book. You need to read these chapters. Yes. Start doing it. Okay. Really start doing it. Is it hard? Is it challenging? Of course. Yes. And a good rule of thumb, something to remember. If you're listening to something and you're trying to learn the vocabulary, you're trying to learn new words, you should probably know about 90 to 95% of the words already. Yes. That's why listening speed and listening comprehension can be very important. For reading, it's the same thing. It needs to be about 90 to 95% so that you can guess the meaning of the vocabulary from the text. Yeah. And you need to take note. Pay attention to what words are used a lot. Those are words you definitely need to know. Yes. Now, if for example, you will be using English in the workplace, okay, this is a little bit Maybe those university classes on the internet can help you. Maybe. But also, there is a website called LinkedIn. LinkedIn.com, right? LinkedIn.com. And LinkedIn is similar to Facebook, but it's for work.
Yes.
And so people put on things, they will post things about business opportunities or research or new information in their area of expertise, or business, economics, trade. And what you can do, for example, if you're an engineer, you can find different groups. You can find chemical engineering and industrial engineering and computer engineering, and you can join those groups. And they will write messages to each other and talk about articles or videos that they find. And so you can look at these and you can look at the words that they are using, and you can start messaging them. You can become a part of the conversation, and you can see if they give you advice about the language that you're using. Are you using it correctly? Are you using it incorrectly?
Yes.
And they know what you do. Engineering is just an example. You can find people who are teachers there. You can find people who make handicrafts, people who are accountants, doctors, lawyers, and so on and so on. There are tens of millions of people using it every day.
Yes. Yes. Thanks for sharing. Nearly I have solutions, the methods to approach to study vocabulary effectively is a space, repetition, space. Do you have you had it before?
Right. So there are computer programs and applications that try to help students develop vocabulary. And then if it is a good application or a good computer program, what it will do is, for example, it will test your knowledge on a group of 10 words today. And then it will also do it again tomorrow.
Yes.
But then it will be 3 days after that. And then a week after that. And then 2 or 3 weeks after that. So as you said, repetition is important. And as you remember it better, you can wait longer and longer and longer to have to see it again. But you must commit to it. You must do it. As you said, you're completely right.
Yes.
And it can be harder, but for children, if it's a game application, usually that's easier.
Yes. Yes. And in short, if we want to improve and upgrade our vocabulary day by day, there is only one to remember that be patient day by day.
Yes.
Yes, we call it the topics, the article is suitable with our job in these areas. We don't ambition to study much because we will forget in another day.
Yes. You need to be focused on what it is you want, right? Like we said a little bit earlier, if you're doing general conversation, but still focused, don't learn all the vocabulary about music. Don't learn all the names for the different kinds of music. Don't learn all the names of all the different instruments. Yeah. First, focus on what you like specifically. And then it'll be easier to build it more, to make it wider, right? Your knowledge will start small in music English, but then it'll grow bigger and bigger based on what you like. And then also you will start learning words from conversations that you have with people. Maybe, for example, you like rock and roll. And so you can talk about guitars. You can talk about The Who or the Beatles or Rolling Stones.
Yes.
And then you meet a friend and they tell you, well, they like jazz. Okay, so you know the word jazz. You know the word saxophone or the word trumpet. And that's it. But then you start talking to them and you learn about other words associated with jazz. And so from your conversations, again, listening ability, listening to others, you will start to build it up. And to some extent, this is passive. It's not effortless, but you're enjoying the conversation. And so you don't need to focus so much. It will naturally come.
Yes, okay. Everybody, somebody have strength in listening, somebody have strength in speaking. So how do distinguish where is the best methods for the people who have strength in listening skill and the people who have talent in listening skill?
Well, so the big difference, I guess, is between reading and listening. For some people, for a lot of people, their listening can be better than their reading.
Yes.
And so, as we talked about before, the best thing they can do is get their listening speed and comprehension good as quickly as possible.
Yes.
And then watching television shows or news shows or documentaries can give them a lot of vocabulary. You're actively listening and maybe taking notes. Okay, taking notes so that you can review it later.
Yes.
And that is another study thing, just in general for studying anything. Yes. You listen to a lecture, you take notes, and then you record your notes.
Yes.
You summarize your notes to listen to later. So if you can do that in English, that's great, right? You listen to a 2-hour lecture, you take your notes, and then afterwards you record it and then listen to it. If your pronunciation is good, okay, if your pronunciation is bad, that can hurt you because maybe you will speak in a bad way also.
Yes.
Looking at reading, if you're looking at reading, then that gives you more time to think and it gives you more time to process what is happening. And it gives you the opportunity to think about, wait a minute, do I already know this word or do I already know a similar word?
Yes.
For example, maybe you know the word quick, Q-U-I-C-K. And then you see in the book, it says quickly. Wait a minute. I already know quick. Maybe I can guess what quickly means. Or maybe another example, you know the word administration. The leaders of a business is the administration. And then you see, and it is a noun. And then you see in the book, it says the word administer.
Yes.
Okay, that's a verb, but it comes from the same root.
Yes.
It comes from the same idea. So when you're learning vocabulary, if you are intermediate, if you're in the middle level or higher, maybe that word can also have something similar as an adverb or an adjective or a verb or a noun.
Yes.
And so you can quickly build your vocabulary from this.
Yes.
So that is something to pay attention to. Another advantage with reading can be, because you can see it in front of you, is you find that there are nouns and verbs that commonly go together, or an adjective and a noun that often go together. Right? You eat food.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So verb, noun. Or
Okay.
you might say bitterly cold. Something is bitterly cold. Verb, adjective.
Yes.
And so it is good if you can learn these words together. They are called a chunk.
Yes.
A chunk is something that can have a specific meaning. And maybe it is 2 words or 3 words or 4 words that are usually used together in a group.
Yes.
A lot of people, when they think about vocabulary, they think, oh, I will learn many single words,
Yes.
individual words. But that's not how language is used.
Yes.
Language is used using words together appropriately in the situation.
Yes.
So to be effective at communicating, you need to learn to use these words in groups together. And so it's very important to learn which prepositions, prepositions to, on, for, with, at, and so on, with what verbs.
Yes.
There's more than 100 prepositions. There's like 140 some prepositions, I think, in English. I don't remember. But some verbs use many of them.
Yes.
And the differences can be important. And so that goes to learning the right one, which is vocabulary. It's not grammar as such. It's actually vocabulary. And it's easier if you learn them as a whole chunk.
Yes. Yes, that's new for me. Yes, from up to now, I only study vocabulary words by words. Yes, ready phrase by phrase, and this is useful information for me.
Yes, yes. Especially if you want to get a dictionary.
Yes.
You're studying English. You should get what is called a learner's dictionary. A learner's dictionary will include things like what we were just talking about, word collocation. What words usually go with what words? And also in a learner's dictionary, it will give you examples of it in sentences. So it can show you directly how to use the word. A lot of dictionaries only give you the definition. And so maybe you don't know exactly how to use it. But a learner's dictionary, a true learner's dictionary, will give you a couple of examples. And that would be the best thing if you are going to buy a dictionary.
Yes. Okay, thank you. Thanks so much. And the Isfollis English is one of the famous methods to approach the way how to study vocabulary nearly term. And how do you feel about this method?
I'm sorry, what was the name of the method?
Isfollis English to study when you study vocabulary.
Well, so like we've mentioned, all right, you can pay close attention to how it is used, whether you are listening or you're reading, and that's your receptive skills. Now, talking about your active skills, production, producing, speaking, and writing.
Yes.
So, like I said before, if you're doing it professionally, or even academically, you can use something like LinkedIn, or you can find other groups on the internet where you can write, comments about different topics and see how people answer. Even on Facebook, even on Facebook, you can find different football groups or music groups and join those groups and actively practice the vocabulary that you're trying to remember. Now, what you could also do is you could make for example, TikTok videos, or you can make videos on YouTube or other things like this. And you put them up in these groups who have the same interests as you. And you ask people to comment. You make friends, again, on Facebook or other social media that you use, maybe Twitter. You can now put 2-minute videos on Twitter of yourself talking or video or any other social platforms. And it can be slow, especially if you are new to the platform and you don't get much engagement. But people will see it. They might leave comments, and then you can start engaging. And so those are some of the ways that you could be practicing it. Yeah. Here, with speaking, you can speak to yourself, but maybe people will think you're crazy, or maybe you will start to go crazy. With writing, some people keep a journal, right? Some people will keep a diary in English of what they do every day. Yeah. Or they will take an hour at the end of every week and write a summary of what they did in English.
Yes.
Now, this can be good if you review it from time to time. Yeah. And you check it for meaning, and you check your vocabulary. Did I use the right word here? Did I not use the right word here?
Yes. Yes, that's enough. As I know, English, as for English is favor for the lazy people who don't have ability in speaking. They only have ability in listening. And in this methods, a lot of people find the result, effectively when they have spent time enough to spend time enough with this. But rarely people they don't pay much money, or they don't much time to invest their time to get fluency with this. Teacher, how do you have any advice for the people who have the spend of time to approach this method?
They do have a lot of time, or they don't have a lot of time?
They have a little of time, but they want to approach with this method.
Well, so a general idea is to become a master of a certain word or vocabulary. It can take up to using it 50 times. That's 50. That's a lot of times. Now, what does this mean? It doesn't mean write the word 50 times. Okay? It doesn't mean that. It means that you're reading it in a sentence and you're understanding the meaning of the sentence, or you're listening to somebody say it within the sentence, or you are speaking it and that is the meaning that you want, or you are writing it and it's the meaning that you want. 50 times is a lot. So if you don't have much time every day to commit to it, then the best idea is to keep narrow the vocabulary that you're studying. Maybe it's only 10 words a week. Okay, only 10 words. But after a year, that's still 500 more words. That's a lot of words. That you will, for the most part, you will remember. You won't remember all of them. Of course not. Of course not. But as your vocabulary gets bigger, a benefit is that when you are reading or when you're listening, you know many more words. So maybe you forgot this word, but you know all the other words next to it.
Yes.
So you can guess the meaning and then you remember the meaning.
Yes.
This happens to people even in their first language, right? You know you knew this word a long time ago, but maybe you never use it. But then you see it again and you say, oh, okay, yeah, I know that.
Yes.
And you're fine.
Yes. Yes. According to my knowledge in practice effortless English, because I have a time to spend this methods before. At the beginning for the lesson for the beginning lesson, it's very easy, but in the high lesson is more and more difficult. So the people who want to improve their skill, they easily to approach the next level. Why they don't make sure on the O level, they not fluency the old lesson, but they rush to the new lesson. Yes, it does. It's temporary problem.
Yes. When, for example, when students go to a language school, they get this book and it's some kind of magic. You know, what's important is that you finish the book. Wait a minute. Is the purpose of your class to finish the book, or is it to learn how to use English in a better way or more fluently?
Yes.
And so a lot of students make the mistake. Oh, look, I went through this vocabulary book, or I went and did all of these books in my class. Yes. Yeah, but can you use the vocabulary? Can you actually use the language? And the answer might be no. So it's not a race, like you said.
Yes.
You don't need to be completely fluent, obviously, in the vocabulary. If you were completely fluent, it would take forever to make progress.
Yes.
That'd be too slow. But when you have a confidence level, when you're about 70 or 80%, okay, it's time to start learning some new words.
Yes. Okay.
And also, like you said, when you're studying a specific area, find words that are connected to it.
Yes.
Like, for example, talking about feelings or emotions.
Yes.
So you could find something, and later you will be able to find this picture on our Facebook group. Yes. But I came across a picture that showed 100 or so different words for emotions in English. And there's probably more. And to be honest with you, I didn't know all of them. But it organized the words that were similar in meaning. So it would have sad, but then it would have 5 or 10 other words that were similar in meaning to sad or angry. And then 5 or 10 words connected that were similar to angry. So these are other ways of learning vocabulary, or words that are connected or have similar meaning.
Yes, okay. Yes, that is the more popular mistakes the learner had. And for me, I had this mistake before. I feel on the lesson, if I repeat again and again, feel very bored. I feel bored, and I I rush out to the next level to get the high achievement. So I don't get the expectations result, and it gets boring, and I feel lazy. When on the way to conquer the goal.
Yes, and your teachers can only do so much. Again, like you were saying, you just memorized it, you wrote it again, and you were practicing it by yourself.
Yes. Yes.
And that's not real.
Yes.
And that made me remember, like I said, you could put up videos on YouTube or other places, or you could write blogs.
Yes.
You could write blogs on the internet and try to get people to go to your blog. Yes. Again, it's slow, and maybe for a while you are only talking to yourself, but you're still actively using the vocabulary. Yes. And that is one of those 50 times you might need before you're able to use it fluently, masterfully.
Yeah. Yes. I have a last question in this part. In Alphabet English methods, we have the part that is listen and respond the question. What is meaningful?
All right. So in terms of just language study, there's something called the Bearlitz Method. And the Bearlitz Method basically focuses on this. It stays completely away from reading. All right, almost completely, entirely from reading. And also it stays away from teaching you grammar as much as possible. Yes. It just, you hear it, and then it has, your brain immediately recognizes the meaning, and your mouth opens and you start talking without even thinking about the meaning of what you're saying.
Yeah.
And this is a part of the larger, more general audiolingual method of studying language. And it can work. All right. If you need to learn, for example, you're going to go on vacation somewhere, and you want to be able to write immediately without thinking, say please, say thank you, order something at the cafe, make a reservation at the hotel, tell the taxi driver where to go, and what they will probably say in a response. It can be good, all right, but be aware of the limitations. All right, there are some limits, because what if you go to the hotel and you use the word reservation, but they use the word booking?
Yes.
Well, wait a minute, you didn't learn the word booking. You know what a book is, but now you're confused, right? I'm at a hotel, I want a room. I'm not at the library, I don't want a book. And now this guy is talking to me about booking? What is this nonsense?
Yes.
And so it's good that it can teach you what is normally used, but it might not be true where you go. So it can work both ways. It can work both ways. But remember earlier, I said to learn vocabulary in chunks, in big groups. That's what this does. Okay, it's learning this whole group of words has this idea in your language, and that's how you're going to say it in English. So it is learning in chunks, but if you're only learning in chunks and not at the individual level, then you can't change out the individual parts you need.
Yes. Okay, that's all the contents we have to discuss about this, how to study vocabulary effectively. And thanks for Denny today for spend all the time for our live stream. And on the audience, please like, comment, and share this live stream on your social media. And please come back next time, same Hobbit channel, Hobbit Time. Thanks for your listening and watching.
Thank you, Jolie. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Have a good night.
Good night.
Yes, good night. Is that night?